All right. Finally ready. Sorry about that. It is base making day, my friends. Welcome back to class after a little bit of an extended break. So I hope the painting has been going well for everybody and the finishing of your pieces. In this, which will be a two-part session, this weekend and next weekend, I'm going to go over my method for creating a base, kind of like a naturey, scenic base, kind of like a slice of the woods. With using mixed media, because there's always the you could always make a base just by sculpting everything out of cosplay. That's always a possibility, and there's lots of, it creates a different look, and there's lots of good reasons to go about doing things that way. But this approach is the mixed media approach, which is not using clay. It's using other materials to create and achieve our final look. Maybe some pros and cons of mixed media over the clay is, I would say definitely a big pro, and the reason I like doing it is when you have something that's sculpted like the character, and then you have it next to things that are made with mixed media, it creates this really unique kind of like contrast, as if they are two very different things. Sometimes when you hand sculpt the base and the character, they look almost like too similar, so by having different materials going on there, it creates a really unique look. As cons, I would say, would be that sometimes it's harder to control other mediums just as easily as you control clay. With clay, you can really sculpt it exactly how you want it to be. With mixed media, it's a little bit more free-flowy, and you kind of just got to go with the flow, and sometimes it's not exactly what you were going for, but yeah. So the painting on my guy isn't 100% finished, but it is far enough along that, and honestly, when we're doing it this way, you don't really need the paint job to be finished. Technically, you could do the base first before you even do the painting. So it's not as big of a deal. The important thing to note, however, is if you plan to paint your character after you've done the base, then you need to make sure that you make it so the character can come off of the base, because you don't want to be handling this huge base and trying to paint your character. So, oh hey, wow, that's a big raid. Well, welcome in everybody. It's class day today here in the workshop. I'm gonna address, usually on class day I stay very focused on the teaching for the recordings and stuff like that, but that's a very, very significant raid. We must address it. Thank you so much there, Dex Bonus, and welcome everybody. I've been working on a series, start to finish creation of this character here. So you guys can go check that out either on, there's a Twitch playlist or there's a YouTube playlist if you want to learn how to do things the way that I do things. It's a very in-depth class where I hold your hand start to finish through the whole process, and you'll see at the end of what I'm teaching today, I'm going to go into Discord, and we got tons of students that are following along, and we can see their work and make comments on it. So this is kind of the end of the class, where we got this weekend and next weekend are the last two for this project. And today we're starting the making of the base. So I'm creating a scenic base using mixed media. So that means materials other than clay. The character itself is sculpted with clay and painted. And yeah, welcome in everybody. I think I have everything. The thing you're gonna really learn about a mixed media base approach is your workshop will be absolutely destroyed by the time you get done, because you need so many different materials all at the same time that you're just kind of like grabbing and throwing things everywhere. So I think I have everything. I'm probably missing something, but we'll get there. So let's begin. RIP living room. Yep. Yeah, base making day is always just absolute chaos. But yeah, if you guys are new coming in here, my name is CNAP Bush. I make custom sculptures for a living here, streaming the creation process, and just creating one of a kind works, all kinds of things, mostly commissioned work from individuals or companies. But Sundays, if you ever see me streaming on Sunday, we're teaching class. So if you tune in during the week, it's very different. It's a little bit more getting work done and casually talking to you guys. This is more of like I'm trying to teach the process as best as I can. So I apologize if there's any missed chats, or I don't have alerts turned on today or anything like that. So that's just so we can stay on target here. So, okay, let's get into it. So, here's the paint job on our guy so far. You can see one of his hat flippers fell off. I have to glue that back on there. Right there. But, so far so good. Still needs a lot more painting work, and there's still a lot of accessories that are going to go onto this, but we can get caught up with that after the base is finished. So I usually end up including the original block of wood, and that's because these holes are already fitted. Does cosplay break at time? No, this was so where this broke at, you can see it's the card where the cardboard was attached to it. There just wasn't enough material there, like actual cosplay. So it was the fault was on the cardboard. You can see right there, not on the actual. Oh wait, it goes like this. Yeah, see. I just didn't have enough clay between the cardboard and the other part there, so that's where the fault was. So easy fix, just some super glue will do the trick. But yeah, I mean there are situations where you can push the limitations of cosplay, because it is durable and flexible, but it's not indestructible. So yeah, so over time you kind of learn what those are. Yeah, sometimes you have like really thin little pieces of clay that will just get abused and during the painting and they'll fall off. So I like that the painting process kind of tells you what parts of your piece are. The whole creation of it's going to tell you what parts you did a good job of adding, you know. And you just try to, anytime something either falls off or breaks, try to investigate why that happened. You know, like I learned, that's how I learned, like when I do rivets and stuff like that, that I put a dab of the clay glue on top of those, because otherwise they were just kind of coming off. They were like delaminating too easily. So yeah, it's all a learning process. Same with like the laces and stuff, you know, like to get that stuff stuck on there, just gotta really make sure it's really attached, and you paint the clay glue on there. And okay, so first things first, we're gonna build the shape of our base. We're gonna build it onto this piece of wood, okay? I'm gonna use the original piece of wood. You could get a new piece of wood if you really wanted to, or if the one that you're using is too big already, just kind of cut it down to size. So, and that way the character is mounted into the wood, and it's not mounted into like foam, you know. It's just as much more sturdy this way. So And what we're gonna build this with is this stuff right here. This is called pink foam, or I think XPS foam. In other countries, it's different colors. It's like yellow or blue, but usually you find this stuff in the kind of the it's insulation foam essentially. So you find it in like a hardware store, usually in the insulation aisle. A lot of places will sell half sheets specifically for making, like makers and crafting. I know if you have Menards, they sell half sheets of this stuff. Otherwise, you got to buy a full sheet of it, which is a huge, 8 by 10 foot sheet. So if you end up having to buy one of those and you don't have a vehicle big enough to carry it, just bring one of these with you and just cut it into chunks in the parking lot. So one of these. And that's gonna go over the next part is these little guys here, these extendo blades. Very cheap. You can get a lot of these for really cheap. Buy a pack of these. And I use these to shape and cut the foam because a lot of people use those hot wire tools. I'm sure you all seen them, the like hot knives. I don't like to do that because I don't want to have to worry about fumes. So I just think there's no reason not to do it this way, using these knives that cuts through stuff like butter. So it creates instead of creating fumes, it just creates little pieces. So there are certain times when you want to use kind of like a hot knife, but this is not that time. So essentially this is going to be our building block of our base, and what we want to do is we want to bulk up the shape of our base. We want to build it up like a layered cake, and then we want to cut and shape that layered cake into the shape we want. And we don't want to go right up to the bottom of his foot. We want to leave a little bit of room for this material that we're going to put on top of this, which is called Sculptamold. So, yeah, let's get to it. So, let me grab some of this here. It comes in different thicknesses, which I like getting some of the different thicknesses. Like this is thinner, that's thicker. I do. I leave it on the same block. You can transfer it to a new block if you want to. I just think it's already fitted to this block, which is nice. He's still removable though. I can actually take him out of this. And that's actually why I'm leaving him here. So when I go to paint this later, I can remove it from the wooden block, but then also put it back in, relatively easily. Okay. And then sometimes I'll start with this, but I'll put a flat piece of plywood, a thin piece of plywood on the bottom of this block of wood, and I'll draw the outside shape of the base. I'm gonna do it the other way though this time, where I build the shape first, and then I'll set this whole thing on flat, thin plywood, and I'll trace it out, and I'll cut a nice bottom piece that makes the bottom look really nice. And that way I can sand that and make it look and stain it and make it look really nice, and then stick it onto the bottom at the end. So, okay. Let us begin, shall we? Let's start this. Marker here. Okay, I do. Got a Sharpie marker. And I'm just gonna start slapping pieces on there. I want the majority of the base to be here in the front, because we're telling a story up here. And so I want it to be a little bit more narrow in the back, so maybe kind of like this. that. So now we're just gonna take this and we're gonna cut it out. Got a knife, extendo knife here. Just like that. See? Now we can clean up this a little bit. Wait, more like this. Yeah, it was like this. Okay. I don't want to go too crazy big with this, but just big enough. Okay, so now I'm gonna use hot glue here. Now, if you have a hot glue gun that's got a low and a high setting, use the low setting. If you don't have one that has a low and a high, get one that has get a low temp hot glue gun, because the high temp will melt the foam if you use the high temp. I'm just gonna glue this on here. Hey, thanks, Thomas. It's this bigger piece here. I'm just going to continue the kind of line we got going on here. This thing now, this is called a Lazy Susan. So it's nice to have one of these, especially for something when you're on certain steps of the project. Just be able to quickly spin it around. Make sure, okay, it goes like that. Cut it out. Okay, this time I'm gonna put glue on both these sides here. Now the hot glue is a great, just temporary hold for things, but it's not a long-term solution for holding. This is just to hold it all in place, so when we do the layer on top of it, that's where the structure is gonna come from. All goes well. All right, let's keep working our way around here. Really shallow on the backside there, just like that. Very good. Last but not least, you cut this straight edge here. When you cut, you wanna slide the knife as you're cutting. Gonna make it go through much easier. Ooh. And you'll start to feel when the blade gets dull on the foam. Then you just grab another one. This is called I believe it's called, the technical name is XPS, or extruded polystyrene foam. Or insulation foam is what it is, another thing to call it. It's usually used as insulation for building like houses and stuff. But it just so happens to be, it's really durable and it holds its structure and it's easily carvable. It's just a really good material to work with. Okay, so now we're gonna continue on to the next layer here. I might just add a thin layer so that way we're on the same kind of plane as the piece of wood. See that? Let me grab another piece of this. I got a big piece right here. So I'm just gonna go up with it. So let's go like this. And I'm just gonna trace that line right there. See, this is where having two different thicknesses comes in handy. So. We're gonna build up the height of it all, and then we're gonna cut it all. We're gonna start carving it. So this is the initial build up. Hey, what's up, Maggie? Alright, let's cut a strip so I don't have to handle such a big piece here. Oops. This stuff's also really great for like prop making, or if you're trying to make like custom decorations in a room. You can make it look like wood, you can make it look like bricks, almost like a scene building, if you will. Now what I want to make sure is once we're getting up into the area where the wires are, I don't want any of the hot glue to be near the wires to gum up that so it can slide in and out of the base, you know. A friend once made a giant gecko for a parade float out of this material. Yep. Yeah, it's really a good material to have in your arsenal, for sure. Oh, perfect. Okay. The downside to this material is you can't bake this material. You can't heat it up. So that's why we have to use... We secure the wires at the very end. No, I'll leave because he's detachable, but when he's very snugly fit in there. So I don't need to make him permanently attached. You can, once it's all finished, you can permanently glue it in place. That's fine. I'm not sure if I will or not. I actually, you know what, thinking about it, I probably will. Once everything's done, then you can just like put some 5-minute epoxy on these stems and then put it in place for the final time. But for now, I'm leaving them detachable so I can remove the character and paint the character more because he still needs more paint work. Ideally, if the character was finished, if the paint job was finished, we could glue him in permanently right now. But he's not, so we're gonna leave him detachable. Peter. Good morning, Peter. All right, so now we got that layer done. We're gonna go back to our thicker stuff. We're gonna add on our next layer here. So I'm gonna come in here at this angle. And trace our line. See, just like I said, it's like making a layered cake here. Let's do 2 passes and just cut all the way through here. More pass. Line action. It is pretty fun to cut this stuff, yeah. Yeah, once you start using these longer bladed knives, it's nothing like a fresh long bladed knife. You don't want to be just pushing it through. You always want to be doing a slicing motion, you know, where you're slicing as you cut. If you're just trying to push it through, just straight through, it's not going to cut like that. You always have to maintain that almost like sawing motion as you're cutting. Okay, so I have this pushed up against the wires here. So I'm pushing this up against the wires here, and then I'm going to come with another piece from this side and push up against the wires there. That's going to kind of create our entry points. The only complication I could see, well, let's see if he comes off just with my hands. Let's see, this is what I'm worried about. There we go. As long as he can just be placed and then removed. Okay, he can. Try that again. I just have to lift it. Okay, see, I have to... Back foot goes in first. And then I have to lift the front end and then the back. Just like that. See, back first, then front. Okay. Alright. Should be good. Okay, let's glue that in place then. There we go. Now we don't want it to be like really pushed up against that wire, creating pressure, because that's going to make it much harder to get in and out. So it's just right up against it, just touching it. Now, let's get a straight edge going here. It is. Now we can see we're gonna start running into his staff goes there. So that means the base will start kind of getting lower there. So let's cut this piece out, and then we're gonna shave it off so the staff is not touching. We don't want the staff, or we don't want the character to be touching the foam, because we are gonna put a layer on top of the foam. So we have to create space there, but we want these pieces to be kind of nice and snug. So we're gonna trace this, cut it out, and then we're gonna shave some of that off where the staff is touching. One of the feet's nearly touching, yeah. And we're gonna carve away this material too. Right now you build it up first. Just kind of build it up bigger than you want it, and then we can carve it away. Get our final shape. Okay. So before we glue it, it's gonna be easier if we do this kind of cutting. Essentially, we're just gonna kind of mark a line here, and it'll start going downhill here. So move that out. We're just gonna start shaving it away here. Can't see how we're looking. Close, a little bit more though. Especially right here. Sorry for the squeaks. A little squeaky sometimes. A bit more. There we go. No, this is a mixed media base. That is one way to make bases, is just using clay, but we are doing a mixed media approach. Okay, so now we can glue that in place. That's good. Need another glue stick. This is a pink foam here. It's like a insulation foam, XPS foam. All right, now I might actually add a thin layer up here so we kind of have this downward slope going on here. See, we made these decisions with the character on how the base is, so we're just kind of forming the land around the character and what he's doing. So since the staff is lower and the feet kind of get higher as we go back, I think we're gonna add another kind of thin layer just on the back side here. Kind of like this, and then we can taper that down. Any issue with using other types of foam like packing foam blocks? You know, that white foam or packing foam is just not as durable in itself. So this stuff is adding, not only is it filling the void doing that job, but it's also pretty durable in itself. So I would try and use this stuff if you can. Of course, you can make anything work, you know, if that's all you have access to. But yeah, that would be my one complaint, is that it's not very durable, that material. It's also a little bit more messy because it's kind of like the way it falls apart with like the little beads of foam, you know. There, XPS, extruded polystyrene. Hey, welcome Raiders, come on in. It's class day today. We're doing mixed media base building here. Thank you, Animair. Alright. This one's far more dense, yeah, exactly. There used to be a foam I used that I just can't find. It's like I can't find it again. It was called 20-pound foam. And it was foam that was like the density of wood that you could shape and refine into like really finished products. And I used to build prototype products as an industrial designer using this stuff, but I just can't find it. I don't know where the heck you get it. It's like such a specialty material. You could sand it and polish it just like wood, but it was light like foam. We called it 20-pound foam. I feel like it's just called something else. I just can't really find it. It was like a yellow color. Yeah, if you live in a different country, I know your guys' XPS is different colored. My father-in-law from Germany sent me some in a package, and it was like yellow, but I've also seen it blue and green. Usually has that pale color. It's all the same stuff though. There we are. I might even do another tier above this here. Well, let's glue this one down first. Well, actually, no, let's not glue that down first. I got it back. What you do is at the end of your foam cutting, you hang on to all these little foam bits, at least the big enough ones, and then you just kind of have like an inventory of little bits you can call upon. Your mom comes from Germany. My wife comes from Germany. The Germans. Some old school right there. All right. And then how's that go? It's like this. What the? Do an angled cut there. Make sure you're practicing good knife etiquette and always cutting away from yourself. You do not want to slip. Cut yourself with this. Trust your gut. If you feels like you shouldn't be doing something, you probably shouldn't. If it feels unsafe, it probably is. Okay, cut that a little bit more. There we go. And then that will end up looking like this. All right, now let's glue these layers down. It's kind of the basic buildup of our base. me get the, we're done with the foam, so let's get this out of the way. Oh, we're not done with the foam, actually. Now we gotta start carving it and planning. Okay, I could see cutting this down just a little bit, like here.